The iMac is a range of all-in-one Macintosh desktop computers designed and built by Apple Incorporated. It has been the primary part of Apple's consumer desktop offerings since its introduction in 1998 August, and has evolved through 6 distinct forms. In its original form, the iMac G3 had a gumdrop or egg-shaped look, with a CRT monitor, mainly enclosed by a colored, translucent plastic case, which was refreshed early on with a sleeker design notable for its slot-loaded optical drive. The second major revision, the iMac G4, moved the design to a hemispherical base containing all the main components and an LCD monitor on a freely moving arm attached to it. The third and fourth major revisions, the iMac G5 and the Intel iMac respectively, placed all the components immediately behind the display, creating a slim unified design that tilts only up and down on a simple metal base. The fifth major revision shared the same form as the previous model, but was thinner and used anodized aluminum and a glass panel over the entire front. The newest iMac uses a different display unit, omits the SuperDrive, and uses different production techniques from the older unibody versions. This allows it to be thinner at the edge than older models, with an edge thickness of 5.9 mm. It also includes a dual microphone setup, and includes SSD or HDD storage, or an Apple Fusion drive, a hybrid of solid-state and hard disk drives. The latest model was announced on October 23, 2012, with the 21.5 inches version released on November 30 and the 27 version released in December. These were refreshed on September 24, 2013, with new Haswell processors, faster graphics, faster and larger SSD options and 802.11 AC Wi-Fi cards. History: the announcement of the iMac in 1998 was a source of discussion and anticipation among commentators, Mac fans, and detractors. Opinions were divided over Apple's drastic changes to the Macintosh hardware. At the time, Apple had suffered a series of setbacks as consumers increasingly opted for Wintel machines instead of Apple's Performer models. Many in the industry thought that beleaguered Apple would soon be forced to start selling PC clones with a custom interface. Part of Apple's effort to maintain the Mac platform was trying to improve its retail strategy. Jonathan Ive was the designer behind the iMac. Ken Siegel was an employee at an LA ad agency handling Apple's account who came up with the name iMac, and pitched it to Steve Jobs. Steve wanted the product to be called MacMan, but eventually warmed to Ken's suggestion. Ken says that the I stands for Internet, but also represents the product as a personal and revolutionary device. Attention was given to the out-of-box experience. The user needed to go through only 2 steps to set up and connect to the Internet. "There's no step 3. Was the catchphrase in a popular iMac commercial narrated by actor Jeff Goldblum. Another commercial, dubbed Simplicity Shootout, pitted 7-year-old Johann Thomas and his border collie Brody, with an iMac, against Adam Taggart, a Stanford University MBA student, with an horsepower Pavilion 8250, in a race to set up their computers. Johann and Brody finished in 8 minutes and 15 seconds, whereas Adam was still working on it by the end of the commercial. Apple later adopted the I prefix across its consumer hardware and software lines, such as the iPod, iBook, iPhone, iPad and various pieces of software such as the iLife suite and iWork and the company's media player store, iTunes. Updates: by 2005, it had become more and more apparent that IBM's development for the desktop implementation of PowerPC was grinding to a halt. Apple announced at the Worldwide Developers Conference that it would be switching the Macintosh to the x86 architecture and Intel's line of Core processors. The first Intel-equipped Macs were unveiled on January 10, 2006, the Intel iMac and the introductory MacBook Pro. Within 9 months, Apple had smoothly transitioned the entire Macintosh line to Intel. One of the highly touted side benefits of this switch was the ability to run Windows on Mac hardware. On July 27, 2010, Apple updated its line of iMacs to feature the new Intel Core processors across the line. The 21.5 inches models now feature the Core i3 processor, but these are upgradable to the Core i5. The high-end 27 inches features a quad-core i5 processor, which is upgradable to a quad-core i7. On this date Apple also announced its new Apple Magic Trackpad peripheral, a trackpad similar to that of the MacBook Pro for use with the iMac, or any other Apple computer. They also introduced their first ever AANIMH battery charger intended to simplify the use of batteries in its new peripherals. Apple offers an option to use a solid-state drive instead of a large mechanical drive. On May 3, 2011, Apple updated its iMac line with the introduction of Intel Thunderbolt technology and Intel Core i5 and i7 Sandy Bridge processors, as well as a 1-megapixel high-definition FaceTime camera, features which were first introduced in the MacBook Pro line in February 2011. On October 23, 2012, a new iMac was announced with a substantially thinner edge, new Apple Fusion Drive, faster processors and graphics along with updates to the ports, but with the same overall depth. To reduce the edge, the SuperDrive was removed on these iMacs. Influence: the original iMac was the first legacy-free PC. It was the first Macintosh computer to have a USB port but no floppy disk drive. Subsequently, all Macs have included USB. Via the USB port, hardware makers could make products compatible with both x86 PCs and Macs. Previously, Macintosh users had to seek out certain hardware, such as keyboards and mice specifically tailored for the old-world Mac's unique KDB interface and printers and modems with mini DIN8 serial ports. Only a limited number of the models from certain manufacturers were made with these interfaces, and often came at a premium price. USB, being cross-platform, has allowed Macintosh users to select from a large selection of devices marketed for the Wintel PC platform, such as hubs, scanners, storage devices, USB flash drives, and mice. This came at a price, however. As USB was far slower than a number of ports available at the time such as SCSI, unmodified iMacs and iBooks were badly crippled until adequate replacements such as FireWire and USB 2.0 became standard. After the iMac, Apple continued to remove older peripheral interfaces and floppy drives from the rest of its product line. Borrowing from the 1997 20th anniversary Macintosh, the various LCD-based iMac designs continued the all-in-one concept first envisioned in Apple's original Macintosh computer. The successful iMac allowed Apple to continue targeting the Power Macintosh line at the high end of the market. This foreshadowed a similar strategy in the notebook market when the iMac-like iBook was released in 1999. Since then, the company has continued this strategy of differentiating the consumer versus professional product lines. Apple's focus on design has allowed each of its subsequent products to create a distinctive identity. Apple avoided using the beige colors then pervading the PC industry. The company would later drift from the multicolored designs of the late 1990s and early 2001s. The latter 2001 saw Apple using anodized aluminum, glass, and white, black, and clear polycarbonate plastics among their build materials. Today many PCs are more design-conscious than before the iMac's introduction, with multi-shaded design schemes being common, and some desktops and laptops available in colorful, decorative patterns. Apple's use of translucent, candy-colored plastics inspired similar designs in other consumer devices. Apple's later introduction of the iPod, iBook G3, and iMac G4, inspired similar designs in other companies' consumer electronics products. The color rollout also featured two distinctive ads, one called Lifesavers featured the Rolling Stones song She's a Rainbow, and an advertisement for the white version had the introduction of Cream's White Room as its backing track. Reception: the iMac has received considerable critical acclaim, including praise from technology columnist Walt Mossberg as the gold standard of desktop computing. Forbes magazine described the original candy-colored line of iMac computers as being an industry-altering success. The first 24 inches Core 2 Duo iMac received Connect's must-have desktop in their 2006 Top 10 Holiday Gift Picks. Apple faced a class action lawsuit filed in 2008 for allegedly deceiving the public by promising millions of colors from the LCD screens of all Mac models while its 20-inch model only held 262,144 colors. This issue arose due to the use of 6-bit per pixel twisted pneumatic LCD screens, instead of higher quality technologies. The case was dismissed on January 21, 2009. While not a criticism of the iMac per se, the iMac's integrated design has some inherent trade-offs that have garnered criticism. In the mythical mid-range Mac Mini Tower, Dan Frakes of Macworld suggests that with the iMac occupying the mid-range of Apple's product line, Apple has little to offer consumers who want some ability to expand or upgrade their computers, but don't need the Mac Pro. For example, the iMac's integration of monitor and computer, while convenient, commits the owner to replacing both at the same time. For a time before the Mac Mini's introduction, there were rumors of a headless iMac, but the G4 Mac Mini as introduced had lower performance compared to the iMac, which at the time featured a G5 processor. Some third-party suppliers such as Otherworld Computing provide upgrade kits that include specialized tools for working on iMacs. Similarly, though the graphics chipset in some Intel models is on a removable MXM, neither Apple nor third parties have offered retail iMac GPU upgrades, with the exception of those for the original iMac G3's mezzanine PCI slot. Models after the iMac G5 made it difficult for the end user to replace the hard disk or optical drive, and Apple's warranty explicitly forbids upgrading the socketed CPU. While conceding the possibility of a Mini Tower cannibalizing sales from the Mac Pro, Frakes argues there is enough frustration with iMac's limitations to make such a proposition worthwhile. This disparity has become more pronounced after the G4 era, since the bottom-end Power Mac G5 and Mac Pro models have all been priced in the $1,999 Euro $2,499 range, while base model Power Macs G4s and earlier were $1,299 Euro $1,799. The current generation iMac has Intel 3rd generation i5 and i7 processors, ranging from quad-core 2.7 a GHz i5 to a quad-core 3.4 a GHz i7 processor. However, it is possible to upgrade the 2010 generation of iMac quite easily. Timeline of iMac models. For more detailed timelines, see the articles for each individual generation. See also: List of Macintosh games, List of Macintosh models by case type, Power Macintosh G3, template, timeline of old world RAM Power Macintosh models, iMac G3, iMac G4, iMac G5, iMac, references. External links, official website, Apple Euro Supporter Euro specifications, Apple Euro Supporter Euro, how to identify your iMac, Apple Developer Connection Euro comprehensive technical details, watch the iMac introduction keynote.